Hey guys, I'm Rodin. Welcome to BOMISpirit channel, home of BOMISpirit and WaterBaby Tarot series. I was going to do the energy shift reading today for Mars going into Aries, and the last couple of days it's been really hard to work. And I'm sure for a lot of you light workers, you've probably been feeling the same thing. Now, this is going to be a little different kind of video. So with any energy shift reading I do, I like to do a little spiel on like the energies at play, the astrology at play, and then I go into the reading. Well, there's so much going on with this one shift. And how it kind of plays into the rest of 2020, and of course this eclipse coming up in Capricorn, that it needs its own video essentially. And like I said, the last couple of days I haven't been working. My ascension, integration, upgrade, whatever word label you want to use for it, has been intensifying, along with a lot of other light workers and other people going through their own awakening and or ascension process, and I'll explain why that is. Now this morning I couldn't work because I was like, oh, my head's cracked open. So I just sat with my guides and had downloads, a lot. And then I went and took a bath. As you can tell, I like just came out of the bath. I'm still kind of hot, a little wet. So they also gave me a lot more downloads for this energy shift and a lot of information that I think is really important to put out there, which is also why I don't have the typical introduction on here that I normally have. It's urgent to get this out, and I want to get it out of me. So this video is just going to be about those downloads and the energy shift, and basically what it's going to feel like for the rest of 2020 and kind of what's going on and what's at play. So if you're only interested in the spreads, just click the link below for when I do the spreads. I'm doing them right after this, so if you look at this right when I post it, the spread video might not be up yet, but I'm just going to link it below. It's going to be the part 2. Okay, so let's talk about today and yesterday and what's coming up. So we're in the critical degree of Pisces in Mars. Mars in this last degree of Pisces, it moves into Aries tomorrow on the 27th. I'm in Pacific time for those who are wondering if you're in another part of the world. Now, when Mars entered this last degree of Pisces, it intensified integration, ascension, awakening. So if you felt the first waves of it and you're like, oh shit, what's going on? And then you're like, oh, okay, this moved out. I'm cool. I can go about my life. And then what just happened in the last 24 hours? That's what happened. Already? Hold on. So if you're wondering what happened, that's what happened. Okay. So as this integration is kind of going on, I've been dwelling on the coming days and what's going to happen. And as I said in a couple videos already, that the 26th today and tomorrow, we have Mars in this last critical degree of Pisces. As before it moves into Aries, it is square the nodal axis, causing tension, a little bit of aggression, a little bit of as far as the collective is concerned. So if you go outside, people might be a little bit more aggressive with you, or just antsy or restless or irritated. So you might see that. And then Mars moves into Aries. Now, we have all this Saturn stuff coming up in the beginning of July, okay? Mars going into Aries, Jesus, I'm seeing orbs of energy everywhere. Mars going into Aries is ushering in the second phase of the reset or awakening. Now, I haven't referred to this as Judgment Day energy in a long time, but I will be starting to use those terms again. Now, before I go into the downloads and everything else regarding all of this, it's really important to know that as we as individuals and the collective ascends and integrates into this higher frequency and into unity consciousness, there's going to be a falling away of labels, okay? Every word we use is just a label, all right? So unfortunately, in the context of a 3D reality, that leans towards polarity and dichotomy and creates division and distortion and all of that nonsense. So I'm gonna be using terms that some people might misconstrue. I'm going to be using terms that maybe you're not familiar with, and that's okay, because some of you, I'm talking to a mixed bag, and I gotta say this every video now, talking to a mixed bag of people. Some of you are really new to the community, some of you have been around for a long time, some of you are in between. So some of the stuff I'm going to talk about might elude some of you, and that's okay. It'll make sense later if you're on that track of ascension and integration. Okay, I'll try my best around these labels and really trying to put it in context of both polarity and unity to really help everybody who's watching. When we talk about unity consciousness and unity in general, it's it really leans towards the understanding that I am you and you are me. Doing this video and getting these messages out, there's just so much to talk about. And I was I really need to think about this in terms of I'm speaking to 8 billion aspects of myself. And I am just an aspect of each of you, right? It goes both ways. And to understand that each of us really make up the collective consciousness, and there are reactions to that, right? So kind of think of the collective as one entity and how you are a part of that entity. And some people kind of get caught up and misconstrue that as like, oh, so we're all the same. No, we're not all the same. We're not all the same. This is kind of the paradox of unity and polarity, right? As you move from one into the other, we all make up one consciousness, one entity, so to speak, energetically, but we're all very important parts of the entity, energy, what have you. Some of you are part of the foundation. Some of you are part, like if you think of it as a machine, some of you are like the legs, some of you are the cogs, some of you are part of the combustion process, some of you are conveyor belts. You understand what I'm saying, right? So just to really put that out there before I continue. So let's go into talking about Judgment Day. This is not to be a doomsday video. It's not to be all doom and gloom and scare the hell out of you. It's not about that. It's literally about me sending a message to 8 billion aspects of myself for informational, insightful purposes, so you guys can understand what's going on, what has gone on, what's going to go on, and how you can adapt to it, okay? Okay, that being said, where are we? We're in a period of time where we're feeling a lot of pressure, okay? A lot of you might have been feeling that even today, waking up, like feeling like something's ending, or I need to fix something, like almost antsy, aggressive, almost like, and kind of confused, maybe even a little emotionally overwhelmed and stressed out, but like not understanding what it is you need to do or what it is you need to finish or what is ending, what is this like panicky, fear-like energy that I'm feeling. That energy is gonna be ramping up, just so you know, for the next like week or so. What you're feeling is an ending. It's an ending of a period of energy. We are ending the first phase of this reset and or awakening. Now, this leans towards Judgment Day energy, which I started talking about in 2019 with all this Capricorn dismantling stuff going on, okay? The reason it's Judgment Day, we have Saturn that's been doing a dance between Capricorn and Aquarius. It was in Capricorn most of 2019. Now it's been doing this dance with Aquarius and Capricorn this year. So think of it kind of like midterm and final exams. Pluto's dismantling Capricorn. That's what makes it Judgment Day. That's what makes it like a Judgment Day sort of energy, and a lot of the collectives affected by patriarchal energies, which is like, what is being dismantled. That's why it's Judgment Day, okay? Now, the midterm, so to speak, was March. Was pretty much everything up until this point, but mostly March was like that peak energy of the midterm. And what do I mean by that? I basically mean that we are now ending this first period of energy where we've kind of been tested a little bit, right? Some of our core values have been shaken up. Our confidence has been kind of wavered. Things that we have identified as will always be there, or our paradigm, or even our belief systems have really been combated or dismantled, or again, oh, damn it, don't. I just saw it started to like buffer. Stop it. Talking to my phone. Anyway. Oh, come on. Not right now. Okay. So that has been the midterm. And we are now in the next few days, which is like the final minutes leading up to Judgment Day Part 2, which is where we're going to repeat this in a final exam sort of energy. Up till now, it's been a taste. Okay. Up till now, it's been how we've handled the ebb and flow. How have we acted according to our higher self? Have we been the best we can be? Have we fed into fear? Have we fed into distortions? And fear is not bad. It just is. Okay. Again, part of understanding unity consciousness. But how have we reacted? How have we handled it personally and collectively, right? Have we judged ourselves? Have we judged other people? Have we grown? Have we regressed? All of that stuff is really what you should be thinking about right now as we're ending the midterm. Because final exam is coming up in about a week, okay? Final exam is gonna be the first week of July is when it starts, is when you're gonna feel that intense pressure. Do you remember that? Like try to flash back. I know it's hard when this timeline changes. Try to flash back to March when we had all the lockdowns happen, when we were in that last critical degree of Saturn. Try to remember the pressure, the panic, the fear, the stress, the something's happening, what's happening, that energy. It's coming up again. You're already starting to feel it a little bit today. Okay, so just be in tune with that. So again, this isn't like to be afraid. And even when I use the word final exam, don't take it as like, oh my God, it's finite. Like, no, don't take it as that. I'm just trying to describe how it's going to feel energetically. Okay. Now, what also happened this week, and I did this energy shift reading on this. We had Venus went direct and Neptune retrograded. Okay, Neptune retrograde has also been aiding the intensification of the ascension process and all of that stuff. Now, with that energy, we were getting a push, right? We're getting a little bit of a push into this higher frequency, and it was about how we are reacting to it. That push is part of the pressure. Okay, it's part of the crunch moment of these midterm final exam sort of energies, right? And again, it's nothing to be afraid of. It's really just checking in with yourself is really all it is. Really also checking in with yourself on how you can improve. Like, what did you do during the midterm that you could do better during the final exam for yourself and the collective? And as I've been saying, we are the collective. You who's watching me, you are the collective, and the collective is you. You can't do work for others unless you do it for yourself. Now, there is the school of thought of like, you're of service to self or you're of service to others. You need both. Okay, coming into unity consciousness, you really do need both. You know, people will say that person's in the dark side, the bad side, they're a bad person. Oh, this is a really good person. This is a light worker. They must be really good. You need both, okay? It's not that dark is bad. It's not that your shadow is bad, which, okay, and again, with these labels, I really have a hard time with these labels because I have been integrating into the new earth frequency, and every time I have to use a label, I get irritated. And I've noticed that every time I have to use a very commonly used word or label, I get so agitated having to use it. But I understand some people aren't there yet, so that's why I have to use it. The shadow is just a term for things you want to see outside of yourself, that you want to see as different from you. That's essentially your shadow. Like, if you want to put it in the context of unity consciousness, okay? It's like the parts of yourself you don't want to look at, the parts of yourself you don't want to own, the things you've done, the things you're not proud of, the things about yourself that you're judging. You're doing that for yourself, and of course, since the collective is also you're doing that to the collective and everyone else. And vice versa, they do it back to you, right? It's all a game of back and forth, because we're all each other. So, that being said, that's really just what the shadow is. Now, with this push, there is a looking at that to integrate it. Now, when we talk about death process and healing and all of that, it's not like a part of you's dying. It's not that a part of you is over. That's not what it is. And even myself, I've described it up until this point until I've gotten more downloads and I've evolved, because we're always changing, right? We're always changing. You shouldn't stay attached to anything, right? So this is how my understanding of it has been expanded throughout even like the last 6 months, I would say. That integrating your shadow, going through a death process transformation, no part of you is going away. You're just accepting it. That's it. You're just accepting it. And don't think of acceptance as lying down and taking it. Like, that's not what I mean by acceptance. By acceptance, I mean, how do I say this? By acceptance, I mean seeing it for what it is, no longer having those distortions, and no longer holding on to triggers, is basically what I mean by that. And when I mean distortions, I mean that you're not seeing something in all its glory, in all of what it is. Like, you're seeing a part of it, or you're projecting some distorted something else onto it. You're just not seeing it for what it is. That's all a trigger is, really, which is why it can be so aggravating and why it can be so disruptive to your energy. So, coming back. I know I'm giving you a lot. There's a lot of information going on here. This is why it's its own video. Even you got to watch this a couple times over. So, we're in this in-between, between the midterm and the final exam, and now we're getting pushed into the final exam energy. So it's just really important to check in with ourselves of how we've handled our own shadow, again, what we label as a shadow, and the collective shadow. Now, this is the part that I think for some people is going to be hard to kind of absorb, because it does require responsibility and accountability. All of us, myself included, no one here is perfect. That's the whole point, right? No one's perfect. That's the whole point of this, right? That with what has gone on in the collective, with everything that's gone down, and I mean everything that's gone down, what we see and perceive as bad, what we see and perceive as good, how that's really just how it is. That's a part of what we are as a collective. That's a part of who we are as individuals. And the only way it's going to feel stable, the only way we're going to feel unified within ourselves and with other people, is to not only see those bad things that, again, what we label as bad, that we are responsible for in our own lives, and how the collective is responding to a lot of things, right? To see that as, okay, there are distortions there. Anything that comes up that we label as bad, that we want to judge, within the riots, within Corona, all the above, the government, whatever, there are distortions that need to be seen for all of what they are and integrated back into the collective. That's what it is, right? But it all starts with the self. So just think about your personal experience. I just talked about it as far as like our environments are concerned. Now let's bring it back to the individual level, right? Because again, what we do individually affects the collective. So during the midterm, how have you reacted? How have you grown? How have you regressed? Now coming into the final exam, how can you improve upon that? A lot of this retrograde energy was also helping us do that, reviewing our actions, reviewing what we wanted as well. And that is how we also bring in this timeline of higher frequency, of new earth, and how we bring it in for everyone in the collective. Now, as people integrate, time kind of like skits out. And I know you guys have been feeling it. I've been feeling it. I've been having really weird like time scenarios. I can't even think of the word. Can't even think of the word for that. Now it's time as we perceive it in a linear fashion. It's doing that because as the collective integrates, the frequency does get raised. It does. And so there's almost like a new timeline that tries to stabilize, for the collective to exist on, right? So that's going to continue on for a little while, probably for like the next week or so. Sorry, my crown is like so not happy with all this information that I'm giving, okay? So again, more information for you to be aware of as we enter the final exam. The final exam is going to feel like it's going to continue until September, where we hit another kind of review period, and then November is going to be kind of like the final grade, okay? So bringing it back to Mars Aries, that also coincides with Mars Aries. So Mars moves into Aries on the 27th, it goes retrograde in September, and then goes direct in November, okay? Now, the final minutes, the reference to that, like I said, we're in the final minutes, quite literally minutes. It's like Mars is in 29 degrees, some minutes. Saturn is at 0 degrees, I think like 20 minutes, something like that. We are literally in the final minutes of Mars and Saturn until it hits the Saturn eclipse and Saturn moves into the final degree, critical degree of Capricorn, okay? And that will be, the final exam. Now with Saturn and Mars are going to be doing this dance as well for the rest of the year. So I already told you about Mars. So with Saturn retrogrades for a while and then goes direct, and then in December, end of November, after Mars goes direct, it goes into the last critical degree again, emphasizing a third phase of this exam, so to speak. This Mars Aries energy with Saturn doing its thing, it's a very disciplinary energy. It's a very focused energy. And a lot of us have been feeling like that has dissipated for the last like month or so with all this retrograde stuff happening. And when Saturn moved into Aquarius outside of Capricorn, well, it's time to be disciplined again. It's time to feel a little bit more focused and disciplined with ourselves again for the next couple of months. It's an ebb and flow to all of this. And then September to November is going to feel how it's been the last couple of months, right? Whew, sorry, it's so hurting. So one of the downloads it's more like a vision that they gave me. It was so cool. It was so cool. And it's really to emphasize this idea of how we are all connected in a conscious level. They showed me a celestial body, or like what I can describe as a celestial body. It was literally like, it looked like the shape of a human body kind of floating around in the cosmos, but it was made up of energy. It had no form to it, but that's how I could see a form. It's like if the energy was making up the form. And it was like this like kind of palish blue. And that is kind of creepy now that I think about it. I saw like millions of like little bodies like making up this celestial being entity body. And then these little bodies started to disappear. But as they started to disappear, the entity, whatever you want to call it, body, a cosmic body, started to become brighter. It started to glow. And like that's basically what's happening with integration. Excuse me. It's basically just to really hit home integration and again how we're all connected, okay? So as time goes on and more waves of people integrate, we're going to just start understanding that innately, that's how we're all connected. And it's also going to aid people in treating each other a little bit better and also checking in with ourselves and why we feel the way we feel, what triggers us, how to, again, accept those triggers. It doesn't mean lying down taking shit from people. It just means coming into full awareness and understanding and getting rid of distortions in your own perception. That's all acceptance really is. It's going to allow us to really get to a place where we can really treat each other better because we do understand that we are all each other. Okay. So yeah, I know I said a lot. I don't think I said it in like the thank you, Mercury. I don't think I explained it in the order I wanted to explain it. but I think I basically got you guys to understand what's going on here, okay? So we're coming out of the midterm, we're entering the final exam. We're feeling the push into the final exam right now, which is the pressure. Some people feel panic, some people feel fear, some people feel stressed, some people just feel really intensified, ascension symptoms, integration symptoms. A lot of you are in different boats, so please just take that as it resonates for you personally. And as we enter the final exam, it's important to stay focused, get driven. Mars going into Aries is also going to give us some balls. Which is going to be good. It's actually going to help us through the final exam. It's going to give us the motivation we need to get back up into that disciplinarian mode with ourselves and with the things we want to create and the things that we need to really bring into fruition, into our physical reality, not just for ourselves, but for the collective as well. Remember, coming into unity consciousness is also understanding that if you want to help others, you got to help yourself too. If you want to help yourself, you got to help others. It really goes hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Just like you can't have the light part of you, the light, white, bright, I don't even know what other words to use at this point, lovey-dovey part of you without the dark part. You can't exist, either sides of you can't exist without the other. That's what I'm trying to say. So that part of you that you're like, oh, I don't like that I can be like this with people. I don't like that I'm capable of this. I don't like that I can manipulate people and I'm ashamed of that, or I judge that, or I'm just gonna never be like that again. Yeah, you just gotta accept that that's who you are. That's okay. It doesn't give you license to go out and be an asshole to people. Like, it doesn't give you license for that, but it gives you license to use those energies to protect yourself in times when you need to, or to get certain things done. Those dark parts of ourselves are the parts of ourselves that not only protect us and protect other people, but also help to dismantle and break down things that need to be dismantled and broken down when the time comes for them to decay. Death is a very natural part of existence and a natural part of the cycle of flow and just everything, just like rebirth is. And even then, it's not exactly a true rebirth death process to anything. It's just transformation. It's transmutation and alchemy of energy is all death and rebirth is. I know there's a lot of information. I know. But anyway, so then we get pushed into the final exam in July. That goes on until September. When September hits, it's gonna feel like April. Okay, it's kind of like how April and May kind of felt, like all of a sudden things really slowed down and all of a sudden we were reflecting a lot, or we were having these like little tests come up of like, and it's really not tests, it's really like little check-ins with yourself of, oh, wait a minute, this didn't go so well for me during the midterm and the final exam. Let me just tweak this now. Let me tweak this now. Let me tweak this now. We've been in a tweaking period to get ready for the final exam to do better individually and collectively than how we did during the midterm. Now, with this echo energy we're having in the beginning of July, that's kind of echoing the midterm March with all the lockdowns and stuff. I've been seeing two possible timelines. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this is gonna play out. And it depends on what happens with the collective and the free will choices we all make as individuals and how that affects and makes up the collective. I saw a timeline where it's just gonna be more about hidden information coming to light with what really happened in March as far as like three-dimensional events are concerned. I also saw a timeline where it's going to be an even more extreme version of what happened in March. Like, not just lockdowns, but like a little bit, I'm not even going to speak it into existence because I don't want to manifest it. I started and I was like, wait a minute, let me rip that back. I'm manifesting like crazy right now. I'm not manifesting that timeline. We'll just say it was a more extreme version of the lockdowns and all that crap that happened, okay? But we're not gonna manifest that because we're all gonna consciously choose not to do that, okay? Consciously focus on bringing in a higher vibe timeline because we all need to, okay? I know that's where we all wanna be. We all rather be there. We might as well all just agree to bring it in together, okay? Anyway, getting off my soapbox. So then we hit September, and September, November is gonna feel like how April and May did, and a little bit of June, where it's like things start to slow down and things start to feel a little good actually. And what is this? This is kind of nice energy. And then when November hits, we're gonna feel this intense pressure again that we're feeling right now and how we felt in March as well. Okay, that's gonna usher us into 2021 after the other eclipse, which I believe is another Capricorn eclipse. Shocker. That's gonna usher us into 2021 where it's gonna feel even more like crunch time. And again, this isn't to make you guys feel deterred or lacking empowerment. Like, you guys are very powerful, and not just me, everyone else needs all of you. It's like so weird to say it like that, but it's just how it works, so we're all connected that way. All of you need to realize that you are incredibly powerful, and no matter what comes up in your reality, no matter what distortions from other people are thrown at you, or no matter what you think you're losing, You have the power to have it not affect you. It doesn't matter how low vibrational someone is, which is just another aspect of yourself, right? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what kind of bullshit sabotage thing gets thrown at you. You are powerful enough to not have it affect you. And you just need to understand that. You just need to understand that. You just need to accept that. And you just need to own that and walk forward into the reality you want to create and the reality you want to bring all of us along with you to. Okay? Okay. So anyway, this Mars energy is not a good color on me. I'm like a very, like my chart when it comes to Mars is funky. I'm very sensitive to Mars shifts. Anyway. So moving into 2021, it's going to feel a little bit more crunch time because by that point, we are for 2021 to 2023, we're going to be living in essentially the reality we've created from what's going on now. So think of it that way. That's going to be what 2020 is going to feel like. That's why for most of it, it feels very grungy. It feels very like running through the mud is how 2021 feels right now when I try to tap into that timeline. Again, time is not linear, but whatever we do now affects that timeline, right? That's why it feels that way, because it's like we all just need to start accepting we're powerful enough to create whatever we need to fucking create and not be bothered by anything that tries to bother us, right? And that is part of letting go of attachments and seeing triggers for what they are and getting rid of the distorted perspectives and just having the balls to be honest with ourselves in who we are, what we are, all aspects of ourselves, no matter how much we've judged ourselves or judged other people. Okay, it's not easy. If it were easy, we all would have done it by now, but it's really important we all do it for ourselves and everyone else in existence. Okay, but 2021 doesn't have to be that hard. It doesn't have to be running through the mud, depending on how we choose to do things now. It's really just that simple. And I don't mean to be on my soapbox. I don't mean to sound all high and mighty. These are just part of the downloads I've been getting this morning, and it's just like, it's my job and my responsibility to relay this message. That's basically all it is. Now, light workers who are on the front lines, you might be feeling a little bit in the way that I do right now, like almost, I feel a little almost parental right now, and it's a very weird feeling. I don't like it. I'll be completely honest with you guys, to the collective. I don't like feeling this parental energy. I don't like it. I really don't like it, but that's the disciplinarian energy that's coming in with this energy we're in right now, okay? So anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling. I'm gonna wrap it up because that's basically everything I just needed to relate to you guys. Everything will be fine as long as you accept you are powerful enough for everything to be okay within your own life. And if you're powerful enough to accept that, you're powerful enough to affect the collective and everyone else you're connected to, that everything's going to be okay and you can create whatever reality you want to create. So let's all just hold the timeline for awesomeness for each other, okay? All right, I'm gonna do the spreads now. I really did not mean to get that soapboxy. I really did not. Excuse me, I really didn't. But basically, July and November are the markers for the next Judgment Day energy. We're entering the final exam. Final grade review will be November, all right? I do love you guys. I hope that you guys understood this message. God, I feel like I came out so snippety. I feel like you guys got it. I feel like you guys do. And hopefully I'm leaving you guys feeling very empowered and ready to take shit on. And Mars in Aries will also help you do that, okay? Start living your truth. Start living Start living your truth. Start living for yourself in order to live for other people as well, in the grand scheme of holding the timeline for the collective, of course. It's time to no longer repress ourselves. Repression is old news. That should not even be a part of our vocabulary or our existence anymore, okay? I love you guys. Take care. Namaste.